Across the JAKIB Media Network, welcome into the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Special edition of the live post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney as we come to you from Screwballs in King of Prussia.
There it is.
Out live on a Thursday night as we look ahead, and we look, Mark Farzetta, into the Eagles' home opener at the Link on Sunday.
I am really excited to be here in King of Prussia, of course, with Derek Gunn, with Devin Caney, and with these fine people of Screwballs. What's happening, everybody? Thanks for having us out here. We're so stoked. We've had some amazing pizza so far from next door, part owner of the place. We've had some amazing sliders from right here at Screwballs.
Wings.
Wings.
Get the wings.
Derek Gunn ate 50 wings before we went on the show today,
47.
folks.
Only 47.
Here's what's amazing. Devin, let me tell you a little thing about my friend Derek Gunn. He's the only person, if you visit him, not that he's ever invited me, I just kind of showed up, to offer multiple barbecue sauces at his house.
That's true.
So then you show up here and you're like, oh yeah, so what are the wings like? And poor Luke, our server, who's like 11 years old, is like, hey, here's the deal. What kind of sauce do you want? And you're like, can you mix a couple together?
Yes.
Just so I can have a little bit of take it off.
I want to sample a local cuisine.
I want to have the hot stuff,
yes.
and then back it off a bit too. You want a little bit of best of both worlds.
I love hot stuff.
I feel like just like maybe by the end of the show,
yes.
she should just have one of your wings.
Just one wing? That's fine.
For the YouTube audience and for the people here at Screwballs, should we have Devin eat a wing by the end of the show? Should that happen?
Yeah.
They're delicious. Well, that's the first. In the history of wings. That's the first applause for one person to eat one wing.
But here's the most unique thing.
What's that?
I've been eating wings for decades.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say, I don't want to eat a wing because I don't want to mess with my makeup. Now, maybe lipstick, okay, but makeup?
You've never seen me eat wings, though.
You're that sloppy?
Yes.
Then we have to see it.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe by the end of the show.
program.
Yes.
By the end of the show, I will eat a wing.
Yeah.
Because it's not that I don't like them.
Yeah.
It's that I just truly don't know how to eat cleanly.
Did you see her eyeball in the wings? You knew she wanted
She
it.
was salivating.
They look really good.
She even leaned over the table at one point. I tried to tempt her. She wouldn't take it. She wouldn't bite it.
No, she stuck to her guns.
Yes.
And she had a slice of pizza.
I did.
Which was fine. You know,
And it was good. It was great.
It was
And
delicious
she didn't
pizza.
spill anything.
I tried really hard.
We've been having a lot of fun. Now we've done one official pregame show, postgame show for the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, here on the JAKIB Media Network, also 6abc.com. We've done a couple of dry runs, and we've had a lot of fun throughout that entire process. Right. It's good to actually meet other humans in person.
Yes.
Like Gunnar and I, we were doing the math.
We haven't seen each other since February of 2020.
Jeez.
And this is the first time we're actually meeting Devin in person.
I know.
Yeah. Now we had a media day.
We did.
Because you're so entrenched in the lacrosse community that I almost have to start speaking French Canadian to you just so you understand what I'm saying. We met each other at a media day, and if I'm not mistaken, you kicked my ass. She was good at cradling.
Really?
She could do the cradle thing.
What does that even mean?
The cradle thing is like you put the ball on the thing and they do that, and then she was like doing that
so
thing.
That was like a funny, because I actually didn't play lacrosse that much growing up.
Right.
And the media day was like, they brought in all these media members and kind of taught us how to play lacrosse.
Right.
I think it wasn't so much that I was good. I think it was everyone was a lot worse than I thought they would be.
It's that you were just barely the bar, and we were so below it.
I think I just looked good because no one else knew even what lacrosse was. So I don't know.
But we had fun.
It was fun.
We were there to have fun.
Some people may have torn their ACLs, but we had fun.
My buddy actually tried doing because he played college lacrosse.
Actually?
He banged up his knee really bad actually because he played lacrosse in college and he tried to reach back into the bag of tricks and pulled out a nearly torn ACL. But other than that, hey, the Eagles play the 49ers coming up this weekend. I could not be more excited about it. And here we are, laughing it up, having ourselves a great time at King of Prussia, Screwballs, having ourselves a great time. And it dawned on me on the way out here as I was listening to some of the press conferences from the Eagles earlier today, and everyone's having themselves a good time. Gunnar, your boy Brandon Graham is inserting questions into press conferences.
Class clown.
We'll get into that. You got Jason Kelsey dyeing his hair, bleaching his hair because he had a bet with Zach Ertz. Everyone's having themselves a good time. Everyone's yucking it up, and it dawned on me. This right now, and I hope it won't be, and I don't think it will be, this is almost one of the best times we can experience in a new coaching era. You're 1-0.
Right,
Everything was perfect week one.
Right.
You look like the brilliant guy, the smartest guy in the room, Nick Sirianni. Devontae Smith looks like, oh my God, this 10th overall pick is going to be amazing out of the draft, right? Howie Roseman got one right. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of the future. Like right now, it's perfect. It's like going on a first date with someone you really like and then never calling them again. It's like,
and I bet you've done that, haven't you?
Once or twice. See, come on. I'm usually.
Look, when you take into consideration how disappointing the Sixers ended up being, how disappointing the Flyers were, how disappointing the Phillies were, this fan base needed a feel-good story. And all spring and all summer long, we wondered, who's this Nick Sirianni guy who was extremely nervous at his initial press conference? They were so vanilla in training camp, you had no idea what they were going to run. We heard all these stories about he wanted to use the screen game. He likes to run the ball and set up the pass, so on and so forth. And you were thinking, okay, nobody played in the preseason, basically. Your starting quarterback played the equivalent of 10 snaps in the preseason. How rusty are they going to be coming out of the gate against Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons? Well, and lo and behold, they went down to Atlanta, and it looked like they had played 3 or 4 games already because it was smooth as silk, at what they did. Took them a little while to get going. Offensively, they hit it right out of the gate. Defensively, Falcons ran 29 plays in the first 2 series. The Eagles' defense bent but did not break, held them to 6 points instead of 14 points. And then by the second half, Jonathan Gannon made enough adjustments. He shut down Atlanta's run game and made it one-dimensional. And, of course, they don't have the weapons they used to have anymore in the passing game and the running game. And it showed because once you made Matt Ryan and that offense one-dimensional, you clamped down on Calvin Ridley, they couldn't do anything with that Eagles defense.
Mm-hmm. And, Devin, as you pointed out when we were doing the post-game show following the victory, it was like the first time you watched an Eagles game in forever that you just had fun. It was just enjoyable to watch that game. You weren't waiting for the mistake.
But that's what scares me. Is it too good to be true?
Right.
Is it what goes up must come down? Because at least for me, I feel like we've gone so long where not just the Eagles, but any Philly sports. You talk about this. The Sixers did give us hope, but the Phillies are a good example right now where, at least to me.
Hold on.
We got an Eagles chant. We got an Eagles chant.
Woo! That was a big Eagles chant. That's the first Eagles chant I've heard in public in a long time.
Me
So
too.
I applaud
Nice
you
work.
guys for that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well,
Anytime.
okay.
Sprinkle that in throughout the show. But no, it was just a good time, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm afraid the good time isn't going to last, is my point.
You're right, because that's what we're used to again, all of a sudden. And I will say, I hate the argument. I know people like to use this, but we sold our souls for that one Super Bowl. The hell with that. I don't agree with that at all. But that doesn't mean that I'm not still guarded as a Philadelphia sports fan.
No.
I am still very much guarded. So even though I enjoyed this and I shot down throughout the week anyone that wanted to play fun police, like, it's only one game. And it's like, thanks, you're an expert.
Oh,
like,
the Falcons are terrible.
Yeah, the Falcons suck. Oh, Matt Ryan sucks. Actually, Matt Ryan's actually pretty good. And then people also try to work this into it as well. People try to work in the idea that when you have a really good high moment, that was the flash in the pan. It's not just that it was week one. It's just that was, that's just a flash in the pan. That's not going to be the norm. That's going to be the exception to the rule, so to speak.
Right.
And I'm like, even if it is, this is the end of the first week. Now it's all about, as Nick Sirianni's theme has been throughout this preseason, training camp, everything, his theme has been round one.
Right.
It's been boxing.
Right.
Round one's over. You keep talking about round one when you're in round two, guess what? You're getting knocked out.
Exactly. Sure. I mean, enjoy the moment, savor the moment. Savor the moment in the locker room after the game, when you get on the flight to come home, the next day when you're rehabbing and checking all the injuries. By Tuesday, you turn the page and start focusing on your next opponent. And this next opponent is a heavyweight opponent, no question about that. They were like the Eagles last year. They were decimated by injuries, especially on the defensive side of the football. When you look at the collection of talent on that defense, all the first-round picks they have along that defensive front, this is a very formidable opponent. Now they're a healthy team. Although they lost Raheem Mostert for the rest of the season, they lost Jason Verrett, the cornerback, for the rest of the season. They still have enough talent. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive minds in the game. Very creative, very deceptive, likes to keep the defense on its heels. A lot of misdirection plays, and he's got a couple of wide receivers that can flat out go get it. He's got a tight end who's like a Mack truck. No, you don't tackle this man one-on-one. And then they bring in a rookie kid. Once Mostert went down, this kid ran for 100 yards behind an offensive line, I will remind you, has 4 former first-round picks along that offensive line. So this is a team that's to be contended with. say what you want to say about Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, he flourishes in Kyle Shanahan's offense when his game is on. Then they draft this kid, Trey Lance, in the first round. And I'm talking to a few people on the West Coast who cover the team, and I'm reading stories out of San Francisco. They may use Trey Lance in small portions the way New Orleans uses Taysom Hill. Now, he came in one play and threw a touchdown pass. You didn't see him the rest of the game. But that's something a defense has to think about. If they think this kid can tuck and run the way at Taysom Hill, that's another whole element you can't really prepare for because you haven't seen what they basically want to do with him in that capacity.
How much do you think, though, and this is what I was kicking around as well, how much does it matter when you have seen a little bit of that before with last year's offense here in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz?
Right.
You have seen the young guy, the rookie, come in, the speedier, shiftier guy come in to take over the offense in little spurts, in little sprinkles here and there.
Sure. But you saw it in a different offensive scheme.
Mm-hmm.
See, you haven't seen Jalen Hurts until this past Sunday in Nick Sirianni's scheme. It's a little bit different. And you saw that Sirianni had designed running plays for Jalen Hurts in this particular offense. So, red flag now. All the defensive coordinators out there know when they play the Eagles, Jalen Hurts could tuck and run at any given moment. Mm-hmm. The message has also been sent, we have speed, something they didn't have in a wide receiver position last couple of years. They have speed now. Oof. And you don't know where they're coming from. Is it Quez Watkins? Is it Devontae Smith? Is it Jalen Reagor? People forget about the Greg Wards and people like that. And the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who's basically the enforcer. He's the best blocker of the crew. That's why he's still here. Mm-hmm. And he's a good special teams player. Say what you want to say about him catching passes like hand grenades. Say what you want to say. But he's a good blocker. That's why he's here. So, and they have two accomplished tight ends as well. So you don't know how they're going to hit you. That
sounds like a dangerous offense.
That's a dangerous offense. Can they do it consistently? Because the more they play, the more information opponents get, just like you get information on opponents. And let's see what happens from this point on. Okay, you passed that first test, which is a great confidence builder in playing the Atlanta Falcons. Now you're going to play one of the heavyweights in the NFC. Let's see what you do against that crew.
Mm-hmm. No, I am eagerly awaiting that challenge for the Philadelphia Eagles. And when I look at this team as it's stacked up right now, I realize the number one thing that you need to see from week 1 to week 2 is the offensive line play minus the penalties. Mm. When we started, at the end of the postgame or the postgame show that we were doing Sunday night, we all went around and we just kind of gave away our own game balls, right? The golden ball, I think Joe likes to call it. Well, when it comes to the golden ball, none of us really mentioned the offensive line because one of the negative things about this game, as great as they played, was the fact that they had 7 penalties. Of the 12 or 14 penalties, they had 7 of them. Cut down on that. I think this team's untouchable.
Well, you know what? But that's to be expected. Your first unit didn't get to play much together. Right. They didn't get to get the full cadence from Jaden in terms of how he likes to call signals from under center. So the penalties and people jacked up, hyped to be out there in the field. So there are a couple of games. One team had 14 penalties. One team had 13 penalties. It happens the first game. Mm-hmm. Now you settle in. Especially when you're a team in transition like the Eagles, bringing in new parts, a bunch of young kids. They're all jacked up and hyped up by playing football and finally getting back out there in front of fans. Okay, now you settle in. That first game is over. Now we're all about that business. We have to eliminate this, continue to eliminate this as we go along so we're not shooting ourselves in the foot.
As long as they actually eliminate it and make those adjustments that we also mentioned in the post game and we talked to Lane Johnson about it and he acknowledged it because I believe he had the penalty that called back the touchdown.
I think it was a holding penalty. Yeah.
It was a holding. Yep.
And that was stuff that we saw all of last season. It was so frustrating. So as long as moving forward they make those adjustments and actually work on not getting those penalties, I'll allow it in the first game. But seeing it in that first game was like, no, we're not doing this again. I can't go through this again.
You know what's funny? I just shows you the kind of life I have. I went back to look. No preseason last year. Barely a training camp, really. You know how many penalties they had in week 1 last year? 3. So, that whole preseason thing really doesn't matter as much as we. And look, I think. Now, here's the thing. I think it does matter because it's not like it can only hurt you if someone gets hurt, as I would say about the preseason. But in terms of getting on the same page, maybe understanding the cadence of a new quarterback like Jalen Hurts, like you said, Gunner, is the way that a lot of these guys is what those guys need a lot before they actually start their season off.
Yeah, but you know what? There were a lot of teams that didn't play their frontline players in the preseason. Yeah. You look at a team like Green Bay. 2 years in a row, they go 13-3. Same nucleus of players are back. They got smashed by the New Orleans Saints with a guy named Jameis Winston, not Drew Brees. Jameis Winston. They got embarrassed in that first game, which means I feel bad for Detroit, which is their next game on Monday night. But, it just happened. It's the nature of the beast. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And this team didn't play together, came out smooth as silk except the penalties. Other teams would jag it until they finally had a half under their belt. And some teams didn't even get their feet under them in a game. So it's amazing how it's different from each team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I was actually very concerned following the second preseason game when we put up 0 points.
Yeah.
And I know we kept being like, it's just preseason, it doesn't matter. I was very concerned after that. So I think going into that first game last week against the Falcons, really the only way they could go was up, as long as they put up any points in general. So they did that.
And they put up some of the, I think, what was it? San Francisco coming to town, scored 41 points, which I think was the most in week 1, if I'm not mistaken. The Saints, I think, put up, 38?
38, yep.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And now the Eagles obviously scored 32 points in their first game. So, look, when it comes to being on the same page as wide receivers, that's where I think the extra work Jalen Hurts was willing to do in the offseason paid off.
Right.
Because he was getting guys like Greg Ward. He was getting guys like Devontae Smith. He was getting guys like Jalen Reagor together, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert.
Right.
Getting those guys together to make sure that they were on the same page. And I know the touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert was him full extension all the way out. But it was a classic case of, let me put this ball where I know, even though I'm on the run, I can put this ball in a spot where only my guy can get it. And that's what he did.
Exactly.
It was a heads-up play. Like we were talking about, like a 10-year veteran playing the game again.
Absolutely.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up because it comes from the press conference today. Landon Dickerson practiced with the Eagles today. For the first time. Practiced with the Eagles today. Probably at the NFL level, he's going to be a guard. A long-term guard.
Or maybe a center. Maybe
a center.
He might be the heir apparent to Jason Kelce when Kelce decides to call it quits. Kelce has talked the last 3 years about calling it a career. So maybe he takes over Kelce down the road as well.
So if he gets some reps this year, someone has to go down, obviously, which is not what we're rooting for at all, knock on wood. But just knowing the ebbs and flows of football, as we all do.
Sure.
I don't know if you know this, rough sport. The first name I saw that was on the happy to move on from list was Isaac Seumalo.
Okay.
And Jason Kelce got asked about Isaac Seumalo today during his press conference. And the way it was posed, it might have been from our own John McMullen, who joins us on the postgame show as well, said, I don't want to say that Isaac Seumalo is being overlooked. Jason Kelce stopped him right there and goes, I will. He's absolutely being overlooked. He's one of the best guards in the game, one of the best left guards in the game. He gets overlooked every single year. No one ever talks about him. No one ever thinks about him. He's great at what he does, but we appreciate him in the room, and we make sure he knows how good he is. And I was thinking, all right, so maybe not Isaac Seumalo is the job. maybe.
Well, no, but we talk about penalties, and how many did he have last game?
At least one. It was 1 or 2, yeah.
His name, for some reason, stands out to me in terms of penalties. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm not overlooking him in that.
But, I mean, Mailata had a great game, but he also had 2 penalties.
He did, yeah. They all did. Yeah.
So when you look at that offensive line, you look at Landon Dickerson, it's like, where would he fit? Is it just a matter of left guard, right guard, center? Because I don't see him playing tackle either. He said he could play all over the offensive line, which I've never met an athlete that was like, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when it comes to where you're going to find him looking down the road, where do you think he's best? Where do you think he would best fit?
It's hard to say. It really is hard to say because one thing about the Eagles, and especially Jeff Stoutland, he likes his offensive linemen to be able to play multiple positions. And, you look at the way this team was decimated along the offensive line last year. Obviously, you got to have a lot of utility hitters. You got to have a lot of utility men playing the game. And, you play center today, you may play guard or tackle the next game. You don't know. So the more positions he can play, the more valuable he is to this organization. Where he would fit in best right now, it might be one of the guard positions. But does Brandon Brooks hold up? Last couple of years he's had the injuries, but he's bounced back nicely. Seumalo, what do they think about him? We don't know. We know what Jason Kelce thinks about him. We don't know what the organization thinks about him. So it remains to be seen. But the fact that they drafted him as high as they did, he was coming off a serious injury, tells you that obviously Jeff Stoutland sees something in him that let him realize this kid could be a perfect plug and play. Whether it's a permanent position next year when we delete somebody from the equation because of retirement, because of money, whatever the case may be, or if somebody gets injured, we can stick him anywhere and we won't have to miss a beat.
One of the other things, I know this was a huge talking point for us before, we found out the reason exactly why Jason Kelce bleached his hair.
We did.
It was for a bet.
Yeah.
It was for a bet. He apparently made a bet with Zach Ertz that Zach Ertz wouldn't be here.
Okay.
And Jason Kelsey said, no, you're going to get traded. And Zach Ertz like, I'm telling you, man, I'm not getting traded. All right, let's make a bet. Instead of money, they went with hair. And Jason Kelsey now has bleached hair.
And we got another Eagles chant here.
It's like it's good to be home again. It's good to be home again. It's like your favorite players. It's like your favorite pair of slippers.
It's good to be out and about, man. Mingling with people in general, man. But Zach Ertz honestly felt he was gone.
Oh yeah.
When he had that press conference in January and he got emotional, he was in his mind he was gone.
Right.
And I'm sure the Eagles tried to get a lot more for him than a lot of teams are willing to give up. And Howie Roseman had to reevaluate the situation and basically say, I'm not giving him away for a song and a dance, especially when we have such a young nucleus in so many other positions. So maybe it's in our best interest to keep him here. So once they had a meeting of the minds and all the feelings were put aside, and Ertz basically said time and time again he wants to retire Philadelphia Eagle, didn't want to go anywhere else. Somehow, some way is how he does. How he found a way to fit in his $8.5 million to make it work. And, good for Jalen Hurts and good for the offense and the organization that he's still here. He's a great locker room guy, a great leader. He's exactly what you want for a locker room guy. The guys like the Zach Ertz, Brandon Grahams, guys like that, those are the guys you want in your locker room to show the young guys this is how you conduct yourselves both on and off the football field.
Well, what I loved about that bet story with Jason Kelsey was, not to get all corny with it, that Zach Ertz literally bet on himself staying in Philadelphia. And I love that because his press conference the last time we saw him, where he was crying, talking about how much he loved the city, how much he loved the team, broke my heart because I just thought the team, the organization hadn't treated him fairly throughout the whole Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson drama. And as someone who's close to the team like you, D-Gun, I mean, do you have any insight into what changed? Because I also got the sense that Zach Ertz, even though he was sad about leaving, he kind of knew that he wasn't going to stay at the end of last season. So what was there one factor that changed? Was it Nick Sirianni? Was it bringing in new talent?
It was a combination of a couple of things. It was Nick Sirianni looking at the roster and say, hey, look, I really need a guy like this, a proven guy who's been around the blocks a few times. And Howie Roseman, basically, when he was shopping him, didn't find exactly what he was looking for. You don't just, even though Zach was coming off a devastating injury that cost him a good portion of the season last year, you just don't give up a player of the caliber of a Zach Ertz for nothing. You don't give him up for a 6th or 7th round pick. All of a sudden he lands at a team that could come back and hurt you down the road. When you put business aside and you think logically and you realize he's a better asset than he is a liability, then it's pretty easy in terms of what you need to do. And when you listen to Howie and Jeffrey talk about, we have a certain culture standard that we expect in our locker room. Well, that culture standard is guys like Zach Ertz, guys who are stand-up guys, guys who are good community guys, guys who come to work and put in not just the time between the allotted hours, but puts in the extra time. And basically, not only is he making himself a better player and more endeared to the organization, but he's also paving the way for younger guys coming from behind them who have to get over this notion in a hurry. I've arrived. I'm a professional athlete. I don't have to do much now. Wrong. Because when you're a professional athlete, you have to work harder now than what you did to make it as a professional athlete. If you want to maintain that, if you want to enhance it, if you want to make more money, get longevity in the game, you've got to put in this kind of work every day to maintain it. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen by accident. You are one of 1,600 chosen few to play this game on a professional level. How long do you want to play this game?
And Devin, my heart was breaking too when I saw him doing that press conference. But my heart was more so breaking from Jason Kelsey because I feel like Zach Ertz suckered him. I mean, Zach Ertz knew he wasn't getting traded at that point. And I was like, hey, I got a bet for you, pal. And then he's got dyed blonde hair now all of a sudden. We're going to be back on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel live from Screwballs and KOP with some more Eagles conversation and most likely a couple more Eagles chants as well. We'll be back in a second.
Post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney. And don't forget, coming up at the very end of the broadcast, when we end up at the top of the hour, everybody on location, stick around. We're giving away a pair of Eagles tickets for the home opener on Sunday against San Francisco. And 4 people on location tonight, 4 people will qualify to go to Dallas next Monday night. So all of that, Mark Farzetta.
Hey, did we get those
coming
tickets?
up,
We get a chance?
when we get to the top of the hour.
Can we go?
Behind enemy lines in Dallas, Texas. Whoa! Gross. I know. You know what? It's been a while since I've been, at a bar. And I just want to, real quick. Yeah. If you're drinking beer right now, make some noise. Whoa! If you're drinking beer, okay. If you're drinking wine right now, make some noise.
I saw those pours.
I know.
They were really heavy.
Those are heavy pours, ladies. That's my favorite table. No offense to anyone else here. So before break, we were talking a little bit. We touched on it briefly, but I want to get back to it real quick. We were talking about the speed of this Eagles offense. When Jalen Reagor was drafted a year ago, we want speed. We want speed. That Justin Jefferson guy, I don't want him. We want speed, right? Well, he's pretty fast too, but Jalen Reagor a little shorter, a little stouter. I got a call from a buddy of mine in Texas that went to every TCU game that just said, you're going to love this kid. Last year, didn't love him so much because he didn't produce. He was hurt, working himself through some injuries. And as I've said many times about Jalen Hurts, when it comes to grading a rookie on a curve, last year would be the year to do it. I love what I'm going to see, not only from Jalen Reagor this year, our little sample, a little appetizer to the rest of the season, the speed that I saw at wide receiver, the quickness that we saw from Devontae Smith, the speed that we saw from Jalen Reagor, what we could see with Quez Watkins running bubble screens on the outside like he was behind those wide receivers, other wide receivers, and Devontae Smith holding his block, by the way. I can't wait to see how exciting this offense can really be. And the tease to it all was Nick Sirianni saying after the game, it's just week one, man.
Exactly.
It's just week one. We haven't even opened up the rest of the playbook yet.
True. Mm-hmm. Well, let's take Jalen Reagor for a moment. Go back to his year last year. Got off to a rough start, and then you look at the way the season unfolded. Your receiver's only good as the quarterback who's getting him the ball. Well, the quarterback couldn't give him the ball when he's under duress every play. I mean, that man was sacked, 50 times? He was hit over 120 times. He's playing with a different offensive line combination every week.
Right.
He's running for his life, so instead of stepping back, taking his progression to step back to look down the field, he's looking left and right to see where the pressure's coming from and who's about to blast him. So, people kept saying Jalen Reagor can't get open, Jalen Reagor can't get open. Plus, you didn't have to double cover anybody in the wide receiving core last year. Now, you bring in a Devontae Smith. You know what Quez Watkins is capable of doing. You can't double up on any one receiver now because you've got three Blazers on this team now. And I do believe that by Smith coming in here and Watkins being who he is in terms of speed, it made Jalen Reagor focus a lot more. It made him practice better because he was getting chewed out in training camp. There were days Sirianni would call him aside and chew him out. Made him focus more, and I think it's made him a better receiver because now he realizes he's not just the sole option in his offense when it comes to deep balls, intermediate routes, and things like that. And that's what you need. They needed to send a message to a Jalen Reagor. Okay, you were a first-round pick, but you didn't live up to it for a number of reasons. Some of them your own reasons, some of them not in your control. But if you want to be a viable option in this offense, this is what you need to do.
I love the idea that you can have multiple threats on the football field with guys that have speed. Because the one thing we always talk about is Deshaun Jackson. It was like Deshaun Jackson, and then he'll take the top off the safety, or take the top off the defense, whole thing. There's three guys that can do that here.
Yes.
You basically have three guys with that type of speed, that type of route running, precise route running when it comes to Devontae Smith. You have three types of guys that can just take that top off the defense. But with that being said, one of the things we heard during this week was from Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, was they simply just took those plays away from the Eagles. How do you take those plays away when you have three guys that are able to do that?
Prime example, Tampa Bay, Kansas City. Look at the speed those teams have on the outside. That's the reason why they're so successful. Good coaching, number one. Number two, coaching that knows how to utilize the personnel at their disposal. And one thing about Kansas City and Tampa Bay, they like to draft for speed. Can you imagine having a collection of receivers, those two teams, I think I could throw for at least 2,000 yards throwing to those guys.
Did you see the throw? I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes, not for nothing. What he threw up to Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
For that 75-yard touchdown against the Browns last week?
Yes.
First off, just a little enjoyment. My in-laws are all Browns fans because they're from Cleveland.
Hater.
So
Hater.
I just a little bit.
Hater alert.
Allow me to bask in somebody else's misery for a change, instead of somebody basking in mine. But that'd be basically Patrick Mahomes ain't the question. But he just basically rolled to his right, just meh. And Tyreek Hill found the football.
Yes.
Gone.
Yep.
75 yards.
Yes. That's what you need. That's what's been
But we
missing.
didn't see any 75-yard bombs from Jalen
Not
Hurts,
yet.
which
Not
was
yet.
a complaint that I saw from the nitpickers.
Where's the deep ball?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Who cares? You scored 32 points.
But not the way I wanted them to score 32 points.
You know what?
Are we going to see any deep balls on Sunday?
I don't know because, again, San Francisco's defense is so good. It depends. Number one, Jason Verrett is out, so that means they got to take a deep shot somewhere. But more importantly, will Jalen Hurts have time to stand back there and take that deep shot? Because the 49ers are going to be coming at him. And they're going to be coming at him from all different angles. And, you know, the Falcons tried to, but the Eagles running backs did a great job of picking up the blitzes. But you got a guy named Nick Bosa on the other side for San Francisco. That dude gives a lot of people nightmares, and it's going to be interesting to see how they move him around to try to gain the advantage in that regard. And then when you try to double up on him, that frees up somebody else. So will Jalen Hurts have time to stand back there and take that deep shot? That remains to be seen.
Let's pick the poison for a second with Nick Bosa. Let's talk about our first matchup of this game with the Eagles versus the 49ers coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock, Lincoln Financial Field for the Eagles home opener. And yeah, we're giving away tickets right here at Screwballs and KOP on the JAKIB Media Network here on the YouTube channel. And everyone that's present here, we're going to be giving tickets away with a fine raffle going on in a little bit. But one of the things I want to focus on, if you had to pick your poison, the inexperience of Jordan Mailata or Lane Johnson, who are you going to line them up against if you're the San Francisco? If you're former Eagles linebacker DeMeco Ryans, now defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers, who are you lining them up over? You're lining them over Mailata, aren't you?
Absolutely. But he may not find success there. I mean, I'm watching Mailata. Mailata's going to kill somebody before it's over.
Did you see the one-arm block? Good Lord, man.
That man's 6'8", 365 pounds and agile. That's a freak of nature. A human being that big is not supposed to be able to move like that. But, you know, obviously the Eagles saw something in him. You don't just give an inexperienced guy a 4-year contract extension with $40 million guaranteed unless you think he's arrived. And kudos to Jeff Stoutland, who's one of the better offensive line coaches in the game for getting this kid ready. 3 years ago, the kid didn't even know how to buckle up a helmet. And all of a sudden, he's a multimillionaire. I mean, that's a great rags to riches story right there.
Yeah, I know what Aaron Cipros, the punter, Devin, you and I, we developed
MVP of the game.
We basically developed crushes on the guy. You and I. He was asked earlier today. He was asked about all the Australians in the locker room making all the money now.
Oh, we got another one.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
those are all my family members, by the way.
Oh, is it really?
Oh,
nice to see
so
you.
nice of them.
You know how I knew they were grilling something at the bar? That's how I knew they were related to you.
There you go.
They were grilling.
Came with fishing poles.
Exactly. But I mean, it is a great story when you think about a guy that never played football, as you mentioned, picking it up, and not just picking it up, but being in the locker room. Like, think about this for a second. Jeff Stoutland, as great as he is, Jason Peters was roaming around here this whole time. Lane Johnson was no scrub, obviously, roaming around here. Jason Kelsey, could you think of a better room to put him in as an offensive lineman to try to learn the position itself? And really, when you think about Jeff Stoutland alone, just as a coach for him, fantastic. And then think about the talent that was surrounding him to try to have him learn this. And you know what people don't talk about enough? The fact that he overcame injury last year. Or 2 years ago, excuse me, he overcame injury. I remember talking to him in the Eagles locker room. Usually, Gunnar, you know, he's like the most fun guy you could talk to in the locker room.
Doesn't say a whole lot.
Doesn't say a whole lot. Just a real chill guy. You start a conversation with him, he's automatically your best friend. And I was going to ask him about some stuff, and I got the sense now's not the time. And it was just when he was told. I still said hello, and he was like, "Hey, you know," and he did say, "Mate, hey, how you doing, mate?" Whatever. And I was like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And I could just sense. He goes, I was just told I'm done." What? He was told he was done. He was just told that he was IR'd for the rest of the season.
Wow.
And the look of disappointment on this guy's face, it wasn't just like a guy that was waiting for what football could bring him. He was waiting to see what he could do for the game of football and do for his teammates. And I was like, from that moment on, I was like, this guy isn't just a fun-loving guy that's like, oh, let's give football a shot and see how it goes in America. He really loved the craft, and you could tell that it was more than just, oh, this will be a good way to make some money. No, it was a way that, okay, let me see how great I can be in this other game. And I think the guy has really matured, not just as a human being, but also obviously as a left tackle.
Well, he loved the physicality of the game because if you ever see video of this kid playing,
it's amazing. I'm still waiting for someone to give him the football in a real game.
It's unbelievable. I'd love to see him use him like a refrigerator Perry. Short yardage situation. Have him run on a dive play for a touchdown. Who's going to stop this man?
Nobody.
Who's smart enough to get in his way to try to stop this man? Not me. I'm like a matador. I'm holding a cape. Ole. You know, just let him go.
Hey, trick play.
I don't want to end up. No, don't use him on a trick play. He may have an IR. You try to use him on a reverse or a jet sweep. This guy may not make it. No, send him straight ahead like a Mack truck. Take the clutch off, let him go.
Just one kick return. Please, just one kick return.
No, you don't want that.
One kick return.
No, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that.
We'll put him in the what do you call those braces?
I support it.
Knee brace?
I think
But the knee braces are like specifically for ACL tears.
Right.
Get him out there.
it's like instead of throwing a Hail Mary, you just have him return one.
Put him in the end zone. You know what, Nick Sirianni, take the rest of the day off. We got your game plan. We're drawing up the schedule, the game plan for you, the playbook and all that. No, we're just spitballing ideas here. We're spitballing ideas. But let's talk about this for a second. The D'Amico Ryan's the defensive coordinator now of the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
So Robert Saleh, right? Is out there with New York now with the Jets.
Yep.
Who the Eagles practiced against. And now the defense of the 49ers is still very similar to what was already there. How much do you think that helps throughout this week of having seen a little bit of the scheme that San Francisco does? Is there similarities there? Does it help a guy like Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen? Does it help a guy like Jalen Hurts that they practice against something similar? Or do you think it's going to be something that's way too different? You can't even use it as a reference.
I don't think you're going to see too much difference because D'Amico is a great disciple of Robert Saleh. And what a story D'Amico is. I mean, 4 years ago, he was a defensive quality control coach. All of a sudden, 4 years later, he's a defensive coordinator for a professional football team. That tells you how well respected he is. You don't just ascend to that level by accident. There are a lot of coaches in this game that are position coaches for years and never become coordinators. And all of a sudden, he's a coordinator in 4 years. So obviously, he learned his lesson well from Robert Saleh. But any guy who takes over, even if you promote from within, they want to add their own little twist to the schemes as well. You know, you have the blueprint, the basic blueprint, but you also want to utilize people a little bit differently than maybe your predecessor used them. So I'm interested in seeing, and I know, knowing D'Amico like I know him, he didn't give away much when they practiced against each other. So I'm interested in seeing, and I didn't get to see them play against the Lions, exactly what he tries to do to twist up and confuse Jalen Hurts, because now he has a whole game worth of footage of Jalen Hurts in terms of what he likes to do. They know he may try to take off and run. So who's going to be the spy on Jalen Hurts? What angles do you come after him? And I guarantee you the 49ers are going to do a much better job of trying to keep Jalen Hurts between the tackles than the Atlanta Falcons did. The Falcons kept letting him get outside of the pocket. So with Nick Bosa out there on the edge and you don't know where he's coming from, 49ers are going to be a much more disciplined defense because they've been together longer. They know the scheme. You know, even though they changed coordinators, they didn't change the scheme much. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Eagles offense attacks a much more disciplined 49ers defense.
Yeah, you also look at the fact that as good as the San Francisco 49ers were last week in the first three quarters, were as bad as they were in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how much that has to do with guys getting injured. Brett, you already mentioned.
Right.
You mentioned the running back as well that got hurt.
Raheem Mostert,
thank you.
Well, you know what happened in that game? The 49ers had a 28-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
And they called off the dogs. They pulled off regulars out. And then, you hear Nick Bosa after the game talking about he had to suit up and go back in the game. He had to get taped up again to go back in the game. They thought they were done. So they called off the dogs on him.
Okay.
Now, I think the Eagles' offense is a much better offense than the Detroit Lions' offense.
I agree.
How much better? We're going to find out. But
offensive line-wise, Eagles blow them out of the water in that regard.
Oh, my goodness. Eagles have one of the top 5 offensive lines in the National Football League. Detroit, for the last 2 decades, is still trying to figure out its identity. They change coaches like you go through a revolving door. So they still can't figure out who they are and what they're supposed to be, and they haven't drafted well through the years as well. This 49ers team, look at how many first-round picks they spent in the last 5-6 years on D linemen. And then it was offensive linemen. And what they didn't draft in terms of former first-round pick offensive linemen, they went out and got in trades. Trent Williams, prime example, one of the best tackles in the game. They make a trade to get him. So 4/5 of their offensive line or some of the upper echelon offensive linemen in the National Football League.
See, that's the issue when I'm talking about as far as what you were saying about that second half of play and what happened in the fourth quarter and the Detroit Lions and all that. We could basically take nothing away from that game. Like if you're an Eagles fan, if you're looking on, and that's the only problem with week 2.
Right.
You got one game to go on. You want to talk about just one game? It's one game to go on. But if you are going to look at it, you look at the run game of the Philadelphia Eagles, I think will have a huge advantage here. Pass rush, obviously, I think you can look at the San Francisco 49ers and say they're going to be aggressive. They're going to get out. They're going to get after Jalen Hurts. They're going to try to make him nervous in that pocket, make him think twice about what his move's going to be because they got a guy like Nick Bosa. But when it comes to the run game, That's, I think, what could be the equalizer in all of this.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be a game where we don't see Boston Scott, for instance. I think this is going to be a game where we see Kenny Gainwell out there a lot more. I think we're going to see Miles Sanders, who ran the ball really well when he has opportunities to run. But I think the run game in this game in particular against San Francisco 49ers will be the great equalizer, because if DeMeco Ryans and if Nick Bosa can get after the quarterback, can get after Jalen Hurts, the way to calm the storm, here you go, Miles.
Yeah.
Here you go, Boston Scott, for screens out of the backfield.
If he can find a hole to run through. 49ers are very disciplined when it comes to gap defense. You know, there's a reason why they were one of the better run defenses in the league for several years before they got banged up last year. They're a very disciplined group. It's hard to run on them. It's hard to run on teams like Baltimore, San Francisco, teams like that, because they play such disciplined gap control. I think the best way you may end up trying to beat the 49ers is using the bubble screens, the quick hitches, you know, to get to the outside quicker. So Jalen is not taking unnecessary hits. And if you can't run the ball, if you're 3 and out every time and you're giving it back to Garoppolo and that crew with those weapons they have over there, you're playing right into their hands. So you got to try to find a way to keep the chains moving. It may not be so much the running game as it is the bubble screen game, the delayed draw game, stuff like that. Try to suck them in and then beat them on the outside.
So three more Quez Watkins bubble screens throughout the game.
4, 5, 6. I don't care who gets. Just get them to somebody. Anybody.
Devin, what do you think will be the breading butt? Right, when you look at game one, if you could cut and paste game 1 to game 2, what's the first thing you're cutting and pasting to put against the San Francisco 49ers?
Coaching and Jalen Hurts' confidence, I suppose, if we're just looking at it like big picture wise. I think the run game, the Eagles' run game, is something that, you know, when we talk about things that might need improvement, a lot of times we're focusing on the penalties and then the defense, especially in the first quarter. But I mean, I thought Miles Sanders did well. I didn't think he did amazing. I think he could improve. And I know I'm kind of answering the opposite of your question because I don't want to copy and paste that. I really like what I saw from
Still got 74 yards or 71 yards.
He did. But there were a few. There was like one play that it was like right before the half. But anyways, I don't want to get into details here. But
she's being negative again, Gunner.
I know.
She's just ripping the
Eagles. I got to stay away from her. Just got to stay away.
No, but what I was getting to my point, and that is what I did like from our running backs was, and all of our offense was the blocking. I think it was Kenny G had a really good. He like pushed. It was on that Dallas Goedert play, like push someone out of bounds going forward so the clock stopped. So I would also copy and paste that.
Was that Kenny G? Did you just go Kenny G reference?
Kenny G. I did call him Kenny G. Yeah.
That's from good friend Ross Tucker.
You guys cannot tell me that you don't think of him as Kenny G in your head. Every time you see him, you're not like Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. That sounds too
Kenneth
proper.
Gainwell.
Yeah.
It sounds
like,
kind of
there's
British.
Kenny G.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Kenneth
like
Gainwell.
We colonials will
G.
kick Major Kenneth Gainwell from our land.
Yes. Man.
That's what. Yeah. That's. I tend to go with just the association to Gainwell for a running back. Maybe that's too footballish.
Oh, yeah, but I haven't heard that. I don't know.
Someone had to tell it to me. Now it's all I can't. Now it's all I think about. Whenever I say his name,
I'm going to think about when I see him.
So now you got me hooked on Kenny G. You have me on Kenny G, and now I just got you on Gainwell.
Yeah.
This is an unfair trade. This is a horribly unfair trade. More unfair trades when we come back, and maybe a little wine. Maybe a little wine for this table when we come back. And we'll have a lot more Eagles conversation when it comes to the Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, as we break it all down for you when we come back on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, live from Screwballs, the King of Prussia.
Love that.
And back here live at Screwballs, special edition of the live post-game show, as we come to you from Screwballs on a Thursday night across the JAKIB Media channel with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney. Stick around as the show when the show concludes. A lot of great giveaways, Mark Farzetta, including 4 people tonight will qualify to go down to Big D a week from Monday. So a lot of good stuff.
There you go. It's all that stuff being given away right here at Screwballs in King of Prussia. And Gunnar, I know that you come out here a lot. You just hang out here. You vacation here.
Oh,
Screwballs King of Prussia.
Absolutely.
You just enjoy the hell out of yourself.
Question.
I'm like, Gunnar, where are you going? And you're like, I'm going to KOP to go to Screwballs. Where do you think I'm going?
Absolutely.
I mean,
like,
you don't do that?
No, I mean, I go to like Europe for vacation. Like Gunnar, he just goes to Screwballs.
See, you have money. I have.
Yes.
You have real money. I have monopoly money. It doesn't carry you too far. So I go to King of Prussia. You go to Europe.
This is true. This is true. Now, I am curious because, Gunnar, you and I have hosted our fair share of shows at bars. Like, we've been at shows at bars and all that stuff. Devin, Not so much.
No.
How are you enjoying the atmosphere of people drinking, having a good time, and then we're over here just talking?
I
and
love
having a
it.
good time. We're having a good time.
We're
too.
having a good time. We're talking, but we're drinking water.
We're drinking
so
waters. Yeah.
I have to say, and before the show, we were talking about how like emceeing events. It's kind of similar.
Right.
It's not hosting a radio show. But the other thing I didn't get to when we were having that conversation was whenever I have to MC an event, I'm jealous of everyone else who's drinking wine and beer, and I'm up there, just watching them have fun and entertaining them. So
Yeah.
one downside.
Being professional.
Yeah. I will say I feel like the most adult ever when I'm like someone's paying me to host an event and they say, "Oh, what do you want to drink? I know you're a whiskey guy. You want a Jack Daniels?" I'm like, "Not while I'm working." Like that's where I like adult hard. You know what I'm saying? Like even
and then
more
you
when
feel
I'm
really cool. You're
oh
like,
yeah. I'm like, no, I can't. I'm a grown up. I have to be grown up
I
tonight.
can't partake.
And then once that's over, I drink.
A request.
A request?
You have a request?
You have a request? And what would that be?
Gunner, will you please sing? Oh.
What?
I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. There's a lot of drums.
Jumanji?
Oh, I know this song.
Oh.
What is it?
My mic is hot, so I cannot sing.
There we go. We got singers right there.
Eagles fly, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high.
Come on, wine table.
Watch our Eagles
Wine table. You're number one.
Eagles fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
There we go. Wait, now it's a party. We should have started with that. This is our last segment. Now, I feel like the energy is the best it ever was. Now it's a party. Anyway. Talking a lot about, obviously, the Eagles and what's going to happen this Sunday. Bottom line is, so this is what we don't get to do because we're obviously coming on after the game.
Right.
And even if we didn't make a prediction before the game, we get to act smart and say we did. Like I totally predicted 34-6. Anyway, or 32-6. So when it comes to this particular game against San Francisco 49ers, we were talking about it a little bit in terms of what we're going to copy and paste from game 1 to game 2. Gunner, what I want to see, right out of the gate from the Philadelphia Eagles team.
Go deep.
Go deep?
Go deep.
My God, man.
Yes.
We are too similar. I swear, Devin, I told you when we met we were twins.
Yeah.
We are, mentally.
Yes.
I need to see that deep ball. You know what? Just put the fear of them.
Yeah.
Put
That's
the fear.
not copying and pasting because we didn't do that in the first.
I said we touched on the stuff that we wanted to see. But the next step for me is seeing that deep ball.
Just go deep. I mean, you got the speed now. Just take a shot.
I don't want to hear
Pass
excuses.
interference call,
But
anything.
it has to be on like first down.
Yes, just go deep.
No clutch deep balls because I can't. I'm torn. I
Right.
have PTSD from that.
You what?
You remember?
Is that curable? You what?
Not after us, buddy. Not after us. Like when we
may never want to work with us again.
When we were, just to let people in behind the curtains for a second, Gunnar and I are just throwing food in our faces when we got here. And Devin says "Oh, hi guys, nice to meet you in person." And she sits down and she's like, "I can't eat. I don't want to get messy." And we're just like,
what?
It was just a horrible scene.
I thought it was a joke. I thought she was setting us up with a punchline.
No.
I don't want to get my makeup.
Okay, but I did eat eventually.
She did.
Yeah, but you had a piece of pizza. It's not a wing. You got to eat a sloppy wing.
I mean, they're still sitting there.
No, you can't touch. No, you can't touch those. No, you
Why?
can't. No, you can't have one of those.
Why?
Even the smell, like getting a whiff.
Oh,
of this.
you had to open a box to tempt
Okay,
her?
are those really spicy though?
No, they're not really.
Okay.
No, there's
I'm just
nothing
gonna lay them
spicy
right there,
about them.
just for the temptation of it all.
No.
But she sits down.
She wants to rip that box open right now.
That's why I let it right
She's
there.
sitting there going, okay, I have to be professional, but they don't know me yet.
So she gets up and walks away.
Yes.
And Gunnar right away. So Devin, when you walked away, Gunnar and I are just like, uh-oh. We're just looking at each other. We're like,
I know.
I think we've already corrupted her.
Yeah.
I feel like we've already corrupted her. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Probably was the eating, the hazing over eating that we got to her on. But as far as what you want to see next, we talked about the deep ball. I don't want to hear excuses from Shane Steichen. They took it away. With this amount of speed on this offense, it's hard to take that away. What do you want to see in game 2, Devin?
Oh, I thought you were asking Gunnar.
You already answered me.
Yeah.
See?
I want to see better
so
tackling in the first half.
She's so focused on the wing, she forgot what you were going to say.
I know, I did. I got distracted by the food. I'm so sorry. I want to see. I know that they improved throughout the game, but the defense still, especially run defense, was very shaky to me.
Especially in the beginning, yeah.
Better tackling, because in the beginning of that game against the Falcons, they looked like they did.
Yeah.
They looked like they were playing flag football.
Yeah.
And that is just not going to fly against a good team.
So I'm looking at the quarterback situation for the San Francisco 49ers, and I've said it a million times already. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo are both guys that can throw the football, and the way they're going to be using Trey Lance in a game like this, I think, is going to be very similar to the way we saw Jalen Hurts used a year ago. Maybe even another example of it would be more like McNabb and Vic in a way that was used. You remember the Wildcat from years ago when we first started to get to know that in Philadelphia. But what I want to see is the ultimate test. Aside from the deep ball for us, the other thing I want to see, or for the Eagles, the other thing I want to see is how this secondary is going to handle these quarterbacks. Because you talk about it all the time, Debo Sweeney out there,
oh my goodness,
making things happen for that offense.
Debo Samuel.
Debo Samuel, excuse me, yeah.
Debo Samuels and the other kid, what's his name? Brandon Aku from ASU. I can't pronounce his last name. But he was a first round
Brandon
pick.
Ayuk.
Yeah, he was a first round pick.
Yeah,
they've got some weapons. And then George Kittle is going to be pinballing people left and right, man. You don't tackle him one-on-one. You got to hit him low, and you got to get support help because you're not bringing him down. You're going to be in his highlight reel if you try to square up on this man the wrong way, or you're going to be on IR.
All right.
This guy plays like somebody stole his last dollar. I mean, this dude plays angry, man. I'm hurting after a game watching this guy play football.
When we walked away from the game last week, when we walked away from the post-game show, one of the things that dawned on me late was Kyle Pitts is a pretty damn good tight end.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if he's going to be that good in the NFL now. We'll see what happens, but I think he's going to be a pretty good tight end. I wanted him here in Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy with Devontae Smith. But when you look at Kyle Pitts, still, I think, going to have a really good career in the NFL as a tight end.
Oh, no question.
And when you watch tight ends against the Eagles, they seem to always get the Eagles.
Yeah.
They always seem to have the last laugh. And now you go from that little test to playing against, I think, someone who's a very talented tight end and will be one day one of the best tight ends, I think, in the game.
Sure.
Now you go, man, talk about leaps and bounds to the next step here.
Right.
Now you're going up against George Kittle. What is the game plan surrounding stopping that? When you also look at the wide receivers that they have on that offense of the San Francisco 49ers, when it's all orchestrated by the guy on the sideline, Kyle Shanahan, who, Gunnar, as you pointed out, is one of the best offensive line in the game.
Keep Kittle in front of you, which is easier said than done. And which linebacker or safety is the one that's going to be responsible for shadowing him? That's a tall task in itself. He's going to get his looks. He's going to get his catches. Minimize his yards after the catch. How do you do that? Gang tackle this guy. And as Devin talked about, you better be tackling a whole lot better than you did that first game against the Falcons, or else you're going to get embarrassed.
Oof. Yeah, we need to see a lot of that aggressiveness from the Eagles defense, I think. But if they're going to be aggressive, they have to be smart at the same time, which is always a tall order, because they can't play over their shoulder pads, so to speak. They have to play well within themselves.
Right.
I thought a lot of the plays that you saw early, especially with the way they were running the ball last week with a guy like Mike Davis, for instance, was guys getting ahead of themselves. They were, I'm going to make the big play right here instead of just making a tackle, making the stop. And then what happened when they got in the red zone? It was all BS went out the window. Just make the stop.
Just make the stop.
See that again? Oh, and by the way, one of the other things, speaking of the run game and stopping the run, I didn't realize I was wondering why we didn't see Fletcher Cox all that much. He only played about 70% of the snaps.
Right.
He usually plays at least 95% of the snaps.
Right.
He said on the defensive side of the ball, Jonathan Gannon was trying to be smarter about the way he was breaking in some of his veterans on the defensive line.
Absolutely.
I mean, is this a game where already you just say, all right, all gloves are off, let's play?
If you can play Fletcher Cox 65-70% of the time, he will be much more effective in the fourth quarter, and he'll be a lot fresher. And Fletcher Cox is one of the best D tackles in the game in terms of generating pressure and collapsing a pocket. So you don't want him to be dog-tired in the fourth quarter. If they're going to get this Milton Williams up to speed and other young D tackles to rotate with Fletcher and Javon Hargrave, then so be it. Because the name of the game is, how effective can we be when the game is on the line? You don't want your team to be dog-tired, and that's when you start making the mental and physical mistakes. It only takes one play to break a game wide open. And so, if you can keep Fletcher Cox healthier, playing less plays, and he's more effective, then that's a great formula to have as you continue the journey through the rest of this schedule.
Mm-hmm. Was he on the injury report? Not injured, but I saw a few vets were not practicing or practicing in light pads this week for rest. Fletcher Cox on that
Fletch
list?
showed up, I think, in limited participation.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Sirianni also likes to give the vets X amount of time
Right.
off to keep them fresh and rested. You know, that a lot of teams will do that. You know, the vets don't need to practice as much as hard as some of the young guys to get used to some of the nuances they're going to face and things like that, and get the reps down, get the techniques down. So basically, that's just a maintenance day for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Wednesday was that maintenance day. Today,
Yeah.
you had full participants: Landon Dickerson, Davion Taylor, Fletcher Cox, Landon Dickerson, as I mentioned. Brandon Graham was full participant as well,
Right,
just had a
right.
resting day.
Right.
Fletcher
Okay.
Cox was also listed as a
Sure,
resting day as well.
sure.
So back in full participation today
Yes.
for
Love
most
it.
of the big names on this
Absolutely.
Eagles team,
So-
which is good to see. Before we get out of here, got another Eagles chant?
That chant sounded a little bit out of sync there for a minute.
That
That was a little jagged
Hey,
there for a
we
minute.
didn't have a preseason either. All right,
Yeah.
we didn't have a preseason.
Exactly,
either.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put us all on the spot.
Boy.
Eagles predictions. When will we get the opportunity again
I'm
to
going
do an
last.
Eagles prediction?
Ladies
for,
first.
for
Ladies
Eagles San Francisco 49ers home opener for the 2021 season. Devin, ladies first. What do you got? What's the score of the Eagles San Francisco 49ers? Oh, wait, do you want to give a score? Approach the
Wait,
bench.
yes.
What's your name? She's from the wine table, by the way. What's your name, darling? How are you?
Patty, I'm good.
Patty. Of
Yes.
course your name. That's awesome. Hi, Patty. What were you drinking?
Wine.
What?
It looked good.
This one. Hi, new best friend. Okay. What's your Eagles prediction for Eagles 49ers Sunday at the Link?
20-10 Eagles.
20 to 10
Ooh,
Eagles.
love
Whoa.
it.
Double
Love
digits.
it.
Give it up for Patty. Give it up for Patty, everybody.
Thank you, Patty.
Watch, Devin was literally about to say 20 to 10 Eagles. No, all right. Devin, what do you got? What's your prediction for Eagles 49ers Sunday at the Link?
I wasn't going to say 20 to 10, but kind of close. 27-24 Eagles.
27-24 Eagles win this game. There we go. All right, we're 2-0 with Patty and Devin. Gunner, you or me? You want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean third. We're
need to
third
think
at
about
this point.
I need to think about this.
You need to
one
think
more
about it for a
Yeah,
second?
a little bit more.
Well, think about it no further because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. 31-27, Eagles win this game over the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, there you
Write
go. There
it
you
down. Call your bookies. Dial up your app. Whatever you got to do right there. That's the bet. That's what we got. 31-27,
Okay.
Eagles
Look,
win this game.
Hold up. Before we get
Yep,
yours,
yep.
I asked D-Gun for his prediction earlier. When was that? Monday?
I don't
Tuesday?
remember anything in the past. We're not talking about the past,
Okay.
Devin.
All
Things
right.
have changed.
You asked
since we've last
Gunner,
spoken.
and he said, "Can you pass my wings, please?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, I really think it's.
Oh,
gonna be
no.
a tough
I already know what you're doing.
What?
By the first sentence.
Yeah,
By the first sentence, I know what you're going to do.
It's the disclaimer.
Every
All right, I'm
party
gonna say-
had a pooper. That's why we invited you.
I'm going to say
Derek Gunn.
24-23.
24-23.
24-23. That's all I can tell you.
24-23.
That's all I can say. 24-23.
But you're not. But who?
I think a turnover is going to decide the game. I don't know.
wow.
I don't know, man. I'm on the edge here.
Can I
Wow.
tell them what you told me?
No.
He said it wasn't 24-23. It was 20-3 in favor of San Francisco.
No, I didn't say 20-3, did I?
It wasn't 20-3. But it was.
Gunner's
not
like, if you
in-
want my chicken wing, you better say I
You
didn't
want
say
a free
that.
wing? Keep it to yourself, Devin.
I'm not gonna. It wasn't a big margin, but I won't say anything else.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Well, I'll tell you this much. For us doing the shows from our own home studios, if you will,
Right.
to actually get out here to Screwballs at King of Prussia, the JAKIB Media Network, and not just be on with you guys there and 6abc.com, but be in person, such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. I think I just had an idea.
Ooh.
If the Eagles win,
Uh-huh.
I will eat a plate of the messiest wings live on air
In front of us.
in front of you. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, we got that on tape.
We'll come back to
We got
Screwballs.
that on tape.
Are you a blue cheese or ranch person?
Either. Usually ranch.
Usually ranch.
Yeah. I'm more of a barbecue wing than I don't like spicy food.
Copy that. Copy that. Gunner? Do you do blue cheese or ranch?
No, neither.
Neither.
No.
You know what I always...
I don't want to taint the taste of the wing with blue cheese or ranch.
That's all right.
That's
I
a,
do.
That's a penalty.
Lord knows I do.
That's a
Yeah.
15-yard penalty.
No, you know what's a penalty is that they give you the vegetables on the side.
Yeah,
Like,
you-
here you go, you fat bastard. Here, you should have some vegetables
You're
with
giving
this.
me a vegetable? Give me carrot. Don't give me celery. I don't want any dang celery.
Yeah.
Celery. Give me carrots.
It's a fine point.
I hate celery.
This was a blast. This was a blast.
So much
Seriously, so much fun. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel all the time for some great sports content, as well as us.
And giveaways. Don't forget about the giveaways.
Plenty of giveaways. Just so many giveaways. It's like Christmas every day here.
I'm bringing 20 family members next time. Joe has giveaways, and I'm going to say don't tell anybody we're related so we can get some of these great prizes that Joe gives away.
There you go. We'll be back with you guys following an Eagles victory over the San Francisco 49ers coming up on Sunday afternoon. We'll be on with you guys right after that game on the JAKIB Media Network on the YouTube channel as well as 6abc.com. For my good friend, live postgame show, Derek Gunn, Devin Caney, Mark Farzetta, John McMullen will be on there, as well as Lane Johnson. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thanks to our great host, Screwballs here at King of Project. See you guys next time.